Hello, folks. Let's everybody take their seats and we're going to get started. Okay, this is kind of like a tea time. Come on. Okay, folks, here we go. Good evening. I'm Bob Webster. I am president of the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame, and I'm happy to have you all here this evening. On behalf of our board of directors, I welcome you to this extraordinary evening as we come together to celebrate a remarkable milestone, the 50th anniversary of the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame. It's truly an honor to stand before you, surrounded by 39 of our 61 living Hall of Famers and the families of 17 other inductees who are no longer with us, all of whom have contributed to the rich tapestry of Colorado's golf history. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome those famers and those family. As we gather here tonight, we are not only celebrating the achievements of the past, but also embracing the present and ensuring a promising future for the sport we all hold so dearly. Our journey through the past 5 decades has been nothing short of sensational, and our executive director, John Rizzi, will share a bit more about the history of the organization shortly. The Hall of Fame has had the privilege of inducting 148 exceptional individuals, playing professionals, amateurs, administrators, and dedicated contributors who have woven the captivating narrative of Colorado's illustrious golf history. Tonight, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the inductees and their families who have played an integral role in creating this legacy. And to celebrate them, this evening's program features 4 world-class champions who, in a fireside chat setting, will share their experiences with golf in Colorado. I want to thank Hale, Irwin, Hollis, Stacy, Steve Jones, and Craig Stadler for being here in support of this great game in this great state. Do you all know that we have a museum across the street? Who all here has been in the museum? Raise your hand, please. Awesome, awesome. If you have not, it is a special place. And we should all be deeply proud and inspired that there is now a permanent and spectacular venue here at the Broadmoor to forever honor the legacies of our famers. Thanks to the efforts of so many, we have transformed our dream into reality, a world-class museum here at the Broadmoor. This repository has more than a century's worth of memorabilia that stands as a testament to the dedication and passion that define Colorado's golf heritage. This project would not have come to fruition without the generosity of so many of you. Of special note, we want to thank our museum founding donors, Mr. Pat Hamill, George and Carol Solich, and the Ann Schutz Foundation. Another huge thank you goes to the El Pomar Foundation and the Broadmoor Hotel, as represented by Mr. Bill Hibble and Mr. Jack DeMoli. Thank you. As for tonight's festivities, I offer our appreciation to our key sponsors, Cronky Sports Charities, Castle Pines Golf Club, the Solich Fund, and the Colorado Golf Association. So many of you have been so generous. Thank you all. Our passion at the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame is not just in honoring the past by inducting famers. Each year at our induction ceremony, we also honor the present. In fact, this year, at the grand opening of the museum in April, we had the privilege of celebrating an unprecedented 5 outstanding individuals as Golf Persons of the Year. We had such a difficult time making a choice. There were 5 exceptional folks who you will hear about at the end of the evening. Next year, in addition to welcoming those new inductees and a Golf Person of the Year, we will return to also recognizing individuals for distinguished service and for lifetime achievement. As for our commitment to the future, we believe that golf transcends sport. It's a powerful crucible that builds character, fosters positive attitudes, and imparts life-defining lessons. To that end, the Hall of Fame is unwavering in its commitment to developing the golfers of the future. Through the annual recognition of an exceptional boy and girl high school golfer as future famers, and a steadfast support for local and statewide junior golf programs, we are helping to sow the seeds for a vibrant golf legacy here in Colorado. In closing, as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee, let us not only revel in the accomplishments of the past, but also commit to creating more watershed moments in the game of golf here in Colorado in years to come. Each one of you is an integral part of this vibrant community, and we thank you for your unwavering dedication to the sport that we all love. Here's to the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame's 50-year journey and to the many chapters yet to be written. Thank you all for joining us. Cheers. I now invite John Rizzi, our Executive Director, to come on up and tell us a little bit about the history of this organization.
Thank you, Mr. President. How's everybody doing tonight? Having fun? That's good. I'm glad. First of all, I want to thank Bob. Thanks for the introduction. I also would like to introduce Maggie Giesenhagen here, who is the president of the Golf History of Colorado Foundation. That is our charitable arm, and that is the organization that helped raise the money to build the museum that we are celebrating in addition to our 50th anniversary. It's been quite a year, let me tell you. It's a lot going on. So tonight we're celebrating the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame's 50th anniversary. And keep thinking about 50 years. Like the older I get, the more nostalgic 50 sounds, right? It's like, it sure does. That phrase sounds very nostalgic right now. But that does not diminish, of course, the significance. For any organization to survive a half century reflects dedication, commitment, and support. And for that institution to enter its second half century, not just surviving, but thriving here at the Broadmoor, that is indeed a reason to celebrate. It's okay. It's okay. No one said for you to hold your applause. It's okay. History lesson. Colorado Golf Hall of Fame came about in 1973, thanks to the efforts of a lot of people, but mainly for three individuals. PGA professional Noble Chalfant, who had co-founded the PGA section, Colorado PGA section back in 1957. Sports writer Ralph Moore, who was also instrumental in starting the Colorado Open at Highwan back in 1964. And the Colorado golf and tennis legend Joni Birkeland, who also founded the Sportswomen of Colorado and served as the first Colorado Golf Hall of Fame president. So we had a woman president, very progressive. Go Colorado. By 1973, Colorado had already had 86 years of golf history, and these three people felt it was time to honor the men and the women who had made it. They put together a board. They voted in the first class. It consisted of PGA Tour champion Dave Hale, who was a Varden Trophy winner and an Evergreen resident who just won the first of his 4 Colorado Opens. They also inducted a couple of babes. Those would be Babe Lind, the first Coloradan to compete in the Masters and a longtime director of golf of the city of Denver, and the late Babe Didrikson Zaharias, the 20th century's greatest female athlete who dominated the golf world while she lived in Edgewater near Denver. If you've been to our museum, you'll see the amazing photograph that we have of Babe with the key to the city of Denver. That was the culmination of a citywide parade honoring her for winning the the U.S. Women's Amateur and the British Ladies Women Amateur. So in the same year, first time it was ever done. So golf was a big deal back in those days. They had like big parades. There were as many people for that event as there were for the Nuggets. I mean, nobody was counting, right? But seriously, folks. Colorado Golf Hall of Fame has come a long way since that inaugural induction dinner at Applewood Golf Course in Golden. Over the next 49 years, 145 inductees have followed. 6 of them entered in the second year, 6, including 29-year-old Hale Irwin. He just won the 1974 U.S. Open, and Hale is here with us tonight, as you all know. Coincidentally, next year, on the 50th anniversary of that class, we'll match that record-setting total with 6 inductees, including another 29-year-old U.S. Open winner, Wyndham Clark. And we're also inducting LPGA champion Jennifer Kupcho, who at age 26 will eclipse Hale Irwin as the youngest person we've ever inducted. I mean, what more can she do, right? I mean, and I'd be remiss not to point out that a member of the class of 2024 is also in the house tonight, Mr. Joe Assel from Golf Tech. In 2005, with the help of the Hall of Fame board member Bob Doyle, I skipped a paragraph. I'm just so excited about this. The actual hall for the Hall of Fame first occupied the now shuttered but possibly resurgent Park Hill Golf Course. It then moved to Colorado Golf Association headquarters, where by the beginning of the millennium, more than 100 framed sketches lined a corridor, making it more a wall of frames than a Hall of Fame. In 2000, here's where it was before. In 2005, with the help of Hall of Fame board member Bob Doyle, the portraits and modest memorabilia collection moved to the new clubhouse at Riverdale Golf Courses in Brighton. The hall enjoyed a great run there, and we're very grateful to the hospitality that they gave us at Riverdale. But after 17 years, it was time we had outgrown our space. It was time to move and do something different. So when we started discussing this event, our golden anniversary almost 4 years ago, we wanted to make it really special. So naturally, the Broadmoor sprang to mind. Special Broadmoor, duh. The person in charge of planning the committee was a relative newbie to the board who had spent decades as a USGA administrator. And with the board's blessing, he took discussions with the Broadmoor about hosting a 50th anniversary dinner and a tournament to an infinitely higher level. That of relocating the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame here permanently. Thanks to the initiative of Mr. Mark Passey, we now have a world-class museum at a world-class resort. As I hope many of you have already seen and have experienced, it is far greater than just a wall of frames. It is a showcase for the men and the women who shaped Colorado golf history, and thanks to the generosity of so many people, we've also been able to share the scope of that history in a dazzling way through thousands of words, images, and irreplaceable items. On behalf of Maggie, Bob, and our entire board, I would like to invite Mr. Mark Passey up to the stage. His vision brought us to a marvelous place we now call home. Mark Passey, come on up here. We have something for you. Thank you, Maggie.
Congrats, Mark.
Thank you.
Here you go. Look at that.
Thank you all.
Just like
Thank
him.
you. Big surprise. I had no idea this was
Yeah, of course not. Thank you. Here, picture? Okay. Thank you all. I think it's about time for dinner, isn't it? You guys are probably hungry, right? All right. Mark, this is yours. Okay, everyone, I hope you've all enjoyed your dinner. I know there's some desserts that are still coming around, but we got to keep the show moving. First of all, I want to let's give a hand to the Broadmoor staff and the Broadmoor for a wonderful, wonderful dinner and a wonderful venue and a wonderful evening. Thank you. It's my pleasure right now to introduce someone who has been an institution as far as the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame goes. He's emceed probably at least 20 of the 23 induction ceremonies we've had this year, and he's never complained much. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Green.
Oh, what a heartfelt introduction. That's so nice. I always come back because they never pay me. I always presume that someday that'll come. So this is always so much fun for me because over the many years that I've been in Colorado and that I've been involved with Colorado golf, this is a great reunion in many ways for so many people who've been so great to the game, the people who design the courses, the people who run the courses, the people who play the best on those courses, literally everyone who helps the game of golf is here, and Keith Schneider as well. The Hall of Fame, going into 50 years now, it's such an incredible group. I had the chance today to finally go over and see what they've done here at the Broadmoor. And as you might imagine, between the people who are so committed to Colorado golf, to the Hall of Fame itself, and to the Broadmoor and the way they do things, it is sensational. It's spectacular. It's beautiful. It is first class. And I know everyone will get a chance to enjoy it if you haven't already. It is something special, something you'll really love to see. When I first got here, the first round of golf I played in Colorado was at Arrowhead, and they hadn't put in the Red Rocks yet. So it was more of a meadow, but it's really come a long way. This is about the history of golf and the history of sitting among all of us tonight, from the great champions we're going to talk to in just a couple of minutes, to the many local champions and local champions of the game that are here with us as well. So we do want to present to you a short video that helps enlighten you and show you some of the great players and people surrounding the game of golf here in Colorado.
Ever since the first Gutties flew at what would become Denver Country Club in the late 1880s, Colorado has built much of its golf reputation on historic firsts. Denver Country Club, the first club west of the Mississippi, admitted to the United States Golf Association. Frank Woodward, the first person from the West to become USGA president. The Broadmoor, the first golf course in the U.S. higher than 6,400 feet above sea level. Pueblo's Howard Creel, the first left-handed player in the U.S. Open. Cherry Hills, the first U.S. Open venue west of Minnesota. Edgewater's Babe Zaharias, the first American to win the British Ladies Amateur. Jack Nicklaus's first national championship. Bill Wright, the first African-American national golf champion. Arnold Palmer's first and only U.S. Open win. Phil Mickelson's first and only USGA championship title. Annika Sorenstam's first of 3 U.S. Women's Opens and 72 LPGA Tour wins. The International, the first PGA Tour event to use the modified Stableford scoring system and the first to offer $1 million in prize money. City of Aurora's Dennis Lyon, the first public course president of the GCSAA. The Broadmoor's Judy Bell, the first female president of the USGA. Colorado Golf Club, the host of the first senior PGA championship and Solheim Cup west of the Mississippi River, and the site of the first U.S. mid-amateur victory by a foreign player. The Colorado Open, the first state open with equal purses for its men's and women's championships. And in this, the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame's 50th anniversary year, comes another first. The opening at the Broadmoor of the first state golf museum of its kind in the United States. Built to the exacting standards of Colorado's only 5-star, 5-diamond resort, the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame Museum not only italicizes the history of golf in the Centennial State, it also celebrates those Coloradans who made that history and those who continue to make it. Tonight, we honor them. They are champion golfers, both professional and amateur. They are decorated golf professionals and instructors, and administrative leaders of local, national, and international renown. They are the visionary architects who design our courses, and the skilled superintendents who keep them green. They are the flawless tournament organizers, and the devoted media members who report on it all. Since 1973, we have sought to preserve the legacies of those who have made Colorado golf great. The inaugural class featured Babe Lind, the first Coloradan ever to play in the Masters and longtime director of Denver Golf. Evergreen-based PGA Tour star Dave Hill, who had won his first of 4 Colorado Opens and in weeks would compete in his second Ryder Cup. And the late Babe Zaharias, who enjoyed great success while living in Denver. The city honored her for winning the U.S. Women's Amateur and becoming the first American to win the British Ladies Amateur Championship. More than 145 inductees have followed. Here are but a few. A USGA Bob Jones Award winner and 5-time Curtis Cup player Barbara McIntyre won 2 U.S. Women's Amateurs and, like the great Babe, captured the British Ladies Amateur. Also winning the British Ladies Amateur were Carol Flanagan, who was the 1960 U.S. Girls Junior Champion and winner of 25 Colorado State titles, and Nancy Roth Sims, who played on 3 Curtis Cup teams, captained another, and earned medalist honors in the 75 U.S. Women's Amateur. Colorado's match play maestros include Walter Fairbanks, Larry Bromfield, Larry McAtee, and Mark Crabtree, who combined to win 20 state match play championships. Did you know Denver's M.A. McLaughlin won the first, second, and fourth editions of what would become the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am? Or that Colorado's Jim English was low amateur over Jack Nicklaus and Charlie Coe in the 1959 U.S. Open? Or that the Broadmoor's Tish Preuss was low-am in 2 U.S. Women's Opens and the 1991 U.S. Senior Women's Amateur Champion? The Hall of Fame spotlights record holders such as Kim Eaton, winner of more state titles than any other woman. Janet Moore, winner of 5 state stroke play titles in 7 years. And her husband Kent, a state champion in 6 different decades. Their 6-time CGA Player of the Year, Rick DeWitt. U.S. Junior Champion and 3-time Colorado Stroke Play Champion, Bob Byman. And the only man ever to win the Colorado State Match Play, Stroke Play, and Colorado Open Championships in the same year, Gary Longfellow. Amateur icons abound, such as multi-sport club and state champion Joni Birkeland, Paul Brown, the last amateur to win the Rocky Mountain Open, 1930s standout Phyllis Buchanan, multiple club and state champion Vivian Dorsey, senior champions Larry Eaton and John Olive, stroke player extraordinaire Katie Fiorella, boulders John Hamer and Les Fowler, ladies champions Helen Hyman and Dorothy Heitler, the legendary Jimmy Vickers, Dan Hogan, Claude Wright, and John Kraft, and the high-flying Air Force officer Warren Simmons. Bridging the amateur and professional ranks, Bill Loeffler triumphed both nationally, capturing a U.S. Mid-Amateur PGA Assistant Professional Championship and Senior PGA Professional National Championship, and locally with 3 Colorado Opens, 3 Colorado PGA Section Championships, and 3 Broadmoor Invitations. The list of homegrown touring professionals starts with Fort Morgan native Dale Douglas, whose 14 combined victories on the PGA and Champions Tours was highlighted by winning the 1986 U.S. Senior Open. Hale Irwin also won the U.S. Senior Open Championship twice. The Boulder product remains one of only 5 players ever to win 3 U.S. Opens. He also captured 20 PGA Tour events, 45 Champions titles, and played on 5 Ryder Cup teams. Irwin, along with fellow Colorado Golf Hall of Famers Babe Zaharias, Judy Bell, and 2-time PGA champion Paul Runyon, is also in the World Golf Hall of Fame. Other major winners include 1996 U.S. Open champion Steve Jones, Dow Finsterwald, who counted the 1958 PGA Championship among his 13 PGA Tour wins, Craig Stadler, who captured the 73 U.S. Amateur and the 82 Masters, as well as 12 PGA Tour and 9 PGA Tour Champions events, and Mark Wiebe, the 2013 British Senior Open champion. Brant Jobe recorded victories, including a major on the Japan Tour, and has won 2 Champions events, while Colorado Springs' own Lauren Howe prevailed on the LPGA Tour. And when Jill McGill captured the 2022 U.S. Senior Women's Open, She became one of only 3 women with victories in 3 different USGA championships. Decades before coming to Green Gables Country Club as an instructor, Paul Runyon won 2 PGA championships. Club professionals Ed Dudley and Fred Wampler both cashed multiple winners' checks on the PGA Tour. Wampler also cashed 4 championship checks from the Colorado PGA section, as have Ron Vlasich and Jack Summers. In all, Colorado Golf Hall of Fame inductees have prevailed in 26 of the 65 Colorado PGA section championships, including Tom Woodard, Pat Ray, and Bill Bisdorf, who also won 3 Colorado Opens. In 1983, Larry Webb became the first and only Coloradan to win the PGA National Club Professional Championship. The high regard with which the PGA of America holds the members of the Colorado PGA section has put 7 Colorado professionals into the PGA of America Hall of Fame and resulted in a dozen Colorado Golf Hall of Famers earning national awards, including Clayton Cole, Jim Bailey, Alan Abrams, Vic Klein, Russ Miller, and Keith Schneider. Their fellow national award winners Ann Finke and Danny Harvanek, along with Ed Oldham, Marcia Bailey, Jean Miranda, and Penny Zavikas, have all excelled in instruction, while club professionals like Tom Babb, Noble Chalfant, Bob Doyle, Jim Johnson, Myron Craig, Gene Root, Tom Connell, Bill Major, Don Fox, and dozens of others define the golf culture at their clubs and the PGA section. Strong administrative leadership has defined Colorado golf since the days of Frank Woodward at Denver Country Club and Spencer Penrose and Thayer Tutt at the Broadmoor. Ray Stenzel teamed with fellow Colorado Hall of Famer John Cochran to create Fox Acres Golf Club in Red Feather Lakes. Jack Vickers created Castle Pines Golf Club and the International. Greg Mastriana's 4 decades at Westminster's Highland Hills Golf was so profound that the district renamed the facility after him when he retired. Digger Smith founded the AJGA, considered the premier junior golf association in the world. And Highlands Ranch Golf Club founder Ron Moore's love for his alma mater inspired him to revive the University of Denver men's and women's golf programs and his family to donate the course to the school. Bob Kirkner started the Colorado Open at Highwan Golf Club in 1964 and served as general chairman of the 1978 U.S. Open at Cherry Hills. In 1938, the general chairman of the first U.S. Open at Cherry Hills was also the person who brought the event there, Will Nicholson, who sat on the USGA Executive Committee. He groomed his son, Will Nicholson Jr., who would later serve as USGA president and preside over the Masters Rules and Competitions Committees at Augusta National. A standout player and administrator, Judy Bell's unprecedented presidency of the USGA followed 9 years as the first woman on the USGA Executive Committee. She is among the first women to be made an honorary member of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews. She was joined in RNA membership by Christy Austin, who served on the USGA's Executive Committee and the powerful Joint Rules of Golf Committee with the RNA. Colorado's other strong USGA ties include Maggie Giesenhagen, a director of regional affairs in the West, MJ Mastelier, who rose to USGA vice president and chaired the institution's Rules of Golf Committee, and USGA Executive Committee member Jim Bunch, the head of 4 USGA committees, who also chaired the Western Golf Association, which runs the BMW Championship and the Evans Scholars Foundation. There wouldn't be an Evans Scholars House at the University of Colorado were it not for Colorado Golf Association President Dick Campbell and CGA Governors Sonny Brinkerhoff and Homer McClintock. Nor would the CGA and Colorado Golf Hall of Fame be the institutions they are today without the commitment of directors Gary Potter, Lynn Mistowski, and John Gardner. The design and maintenance of golf courses merges art, strategy, and science to create playing fields of infinite challenge and enjoyment. With Perry Park, Saddle Rock, and another 60 Colorado courses bearing his signature or his firm's fingerprints, Dick Phelps ranks as the state's most prolific course architect. heir to a course architecture legacy, Press Maxwell's Colorado canon includes such gems as Highwan, Rolling Hills, Pinehurst, Kissing Camels, and Boulder Country Club. After working alongside Jack Nicklaus and Tom Weiskopf, Grand Junction native Jay Morrish made a name for himself in Colorado with River Valley Ranch in Ravenna near Waterton Canyon. The success of Sanctuary, Jim Eng's first Colorado design, led to such transformative layouts as Redlands Mesa in Grand Junction, Golden's Fossil Trace, 4 Mile Ranch in Canyon City, and Harmony in Timna. Before he'd laid out such courses as Columbine, Meadow Hills, and Fort Collins Country Club, Henry Hughes was a superintendent at Cherry Hills for 15 years. He co-founded the Rocky Mountain Golf Course Superintendents Association with Denver Country Club's Jim Haynes. Haynes' innovations earned him the USGA's coveted National Superintendent's Award, and he lobbied hard to establish a turf management major at Colorado State University. Stan Metzger, a CSU-educated super who worked with Pete Dye on the building of Colorado Country Club, initiated the creation of a national certification program for golf course superintendents. The Denver Post's Ralph Moore's local golf coverage and support of Colorado golf led to the creation of the Colorado Open, Indian Tree Golf Course, and the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame. An avid golfer and golf fan, the highly respected Star Yellen spent 50 years on Denver radio and TV and covered the final holes of the Colorado Open live from Highland. Veteran sports writer Kay Kessler's arrival from Ohio in the 1980s drew stars and attention to the International at Castle Pines. And Gary Bain's unrelenting print and digital golf journalism has earned him a place among the many Hall of Famers he's written about. Since 1973, the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame has inducted these icons of excellence. It has also honored others as Persons of the Year and Future Famers, and saluted many more for lifetime achievement and distinguished service to the game. For 50 years, the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame has recognized the past, honored the present, and ensured the future of the great game of golf in our great state. And for the next 50, we have the privilege of pursuing this mission at the Broadmoor, the epitome of excellence.
This picture was taken a little over an hour ago. This was an opportunity for many of our Hall of Famers to gather and receive new medallions that were made just for this, for all Hall of Famers, but they're brand new, and those Hall of Famers who are here with us today were able to participate, and what a great group photo featuring some of Colorado's best. And this was just a great sight to see all of these Hall of Famers together sporting these new medallions. So we just want to wish them all the best and thank them for coming and getting their new medallions. We have more of these medallions here. These are for family members and those who love those who have passed on, but are represented here tonight. So I want you to know that there are 18 of these medals here that we'd like for those family members to pick up afterwards. They are for Spike Baker, Sonny Brinkerhoff, Howard Creel, Larry Eaton, Dow Finsterwald, John Gardner, John Hamer, Dorothy Heitler, Kay Kessler, Ron Moore, Will F. Nicholson Sr. and Will F. Nicholson Jr., Spencer Penrose, Jack Vickers, Jimmy Vickers, Thayer Tutt, Wilford Woody, and Babe Zaharias. And we want to thank their families for coming tonight. I remind you that those family members at the end of the evening, please come and pick these up. We'd love for you to have them and know you treasure them. I've been to the Broadmoor a few times. This was the first time I ever realized that it's kind of a golf facility. I just come here to bowl. And seeing some of the people being honored for like rules committees, and I was unaware of rules, but Sounds fascinating, something maybe I should look into sometime. As my old eyes try to read what we're doing next here. What I want to do is all the Hall of Famers who we did have over there and any other Hall of Famers who are with us here today, we'd like for all of you to stand. And we'd like for everyone to pay respect to all of the Hall of Famers that are here with us tonight from the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame. Please rise and be recognized. So tonight, they have asked me to have a fireside discussion, and that's our fireplace. And what we're doing is bringing up some of the greatest champions, the history of Colorado, those who have born here or lived here, but who have had extraordinary golf careers, the likes of which very few could have ever imagined. So we're going to bring them up one at a time, and then we're going to sit down and talk a little bit about the game, Colorado, their lives, their careers. So first, let's please welcome one of the greatest champions in the history of golf anywhere, Mr. Hale Irwin is going to come up and join us. Many know Hale from his football playing days in Boulder, and then the 3 U.S. Open championships, all of the other PGA Tour wins, and up until recently, the winningest player in the history of the Champions Tour. Why don't you sit down all the way down here? We'll come to me. Until Bernhard Langer recently got you, Hale Irwin was the all-time Champions Tour champion with 45 wins. It's good to have you back. Thank you. Up next, we want to bring up Colorado native Steve Jones. Steve grew up out on the eastern plains of Yuma, Colorado. Went on, of course, to win a U.S. Open, playing his collegiate golf at the University of Colorado, as did Hale. He overcame injury to enjoy one of the great careers in golf history, and he's here with us tonight to talk a little bit more about it, and he joins, there's 4 U.S. Opens, shaking hands right there. It's nice to see. Steve Jones. If for some reason you don't know where Yuma, Colorado is, you go to Fort Morgan and you go through Otis. And right past Otis is Yuma, right? I'm getting that right? That's Yuma. So that's how you get to see where Steve played on the famed sand greens. Please join our next guest. She's one of the all-time great women's champions in the history of golf, Hollis Stacy. Hollis won 3 U.S. Opens, 2 of them back-to-back. She was the youngest ever to win back-to-back U.S. Open championships. She was a 3-time junior U.S. champion, and she would have won a 4th, except she was no longer a junior. So she aged out of that championship. Hollis lived here for a long time on the west side of town, splitting time now between here and Florida. Also a Colorado resident in his days, still with us pretty regularly, but please welcome Craig Stadler. The Walrus is here with us tonight. Craig was a great amateur player, a collegiate champion, but maybe most remembered by many for the 1982 Masters Championship that he won, and he is certainly one of the most well-respected Tour champions in the history of the game. Craig Stadler here joining us as well. So I want to start just by asking you about Colorado, because Hale and Steve had no choice. Their families moved here, so they were going to live here because that's where the food was. But Hollis, how did you choose Colorado? You moved here when you'd already achieved much of your success on tour. How'd you pick Colorado?
Well, I met someone and we moved here, and how I remember, I met Dorothy. We've been together 29 years, and so, but how do you remember what year? Well, I remember turning on the TV set, and then, oh my gosh, there is this running back, Terrell Davis. That was 1995.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, anyway, but I love Colorado. It was so different from where I was raised, Savannah, Georgia. I loved the outdoors. I loved how, the hiking, the beauty, and it was so different. And the people are wonderful, and they're real, and I just really love being here. So I lived here in 95, full-time till 2010, and then we're back and forth now. So, but I love it here.
Great. Craig, how did you choose here? You grew up in La Jolla in the San Diego area. How did you pick the mountains?
Ours is a little different reason. Did grow up in La Jolla in San Diego, and when our kids were young, I would come home. I tried to come home every weekend, no matter if we were back east or Chicago or Florida or Texas or whatever. And inevitably, 80% of the time I came through Denver, connected on to San Diego. And after a while, I'd get home Sunday night like midnight, 1 o'clock, and then Monday night I'd take the red eye back somewhere to go play again. And when the kids were growing up, they never used the ocean. We lived like a quarter mile off the ocean.
Right.
And we loved to ski. Took the kids there. We came up and skied for a week at Beaver Creek every year, or 2 weeks actually, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And finally, I'm not the smartest pencil in the box, but after about 6 years, it kind of dawned on me, like, if I just get off here.
I'm home.
And save 2 hours to San Diego, don't have to take a red eye, save 2 hours back somewhere, I can save about 8 hours. And so when the kids were 9th and 11th grade, or 8th and 10th, we moved up to right off University there on Columbine.
Right.
And so my youngest son, Chris, lives in Loveland. Kevin has a place on Pearl and also in Scottsdale. Their mom lives in Durango. So they've all stayed here, so it appeared to be a good move. But that was actually the only reason. I didn't know anything about Colorado. And we've been here ever since, so absolutely love it.
Well, let's talk about the guys who grew up here. Hale, your family, and I think of Bobby and Dick Anderson. I think of you guys running roughshod through Boulder in the 1960s, playing football and golf. This really is your home, right? I mean, this is where you really grew up.
It was. I came from a small town in southeast Kansas. My brother's here tonight, and he can speak to Baxter Springs. I came in here when I was 14. And like you say, that's where the food came, so we came with Mom and Dad. The greatest part for me is coming from a very small town and actually being elevated into a community that was far more entertaining. It wasn't just a small town; you had other things to do. It was the step up. It's almost like a big city, and it provided, I think, for us far more opportunities than we could have had we stayed where we were. And it melded into being the right move, and what I was able to have presented to me as far as a menu and being able to do the things that we ultimately had before us was a godsend. It was the right place, the right time. And it provided, I think, everything that I needed at the time for me to become what I became. It was the foundation for my success.
Steve, Yuma, we kidded about a little bit of being a small town out there. How old were you when you guys moved out there? And it's always the story about the sand greens of Yuma. I played on sand greens in Sag Harbor out in eastern Long Island, and I remember them being really hard. But did you think they were hard, or just they were what they were?
Well, the greens were real sandy, so they weren't real hard.
Yeah.
Difficult.
The fairways were hard. They were buffalo grass, yes. But no, we moved. My dad got into the farming business. So in 1970, we moved there. And they just got a grass golf course. And it was a mile closer, so it was only a mile out of town. That's how I'd walk there every day, sometimes riding my bike. But it was interesting because for $100, all 8 of us could be a member for the year.
Oh my gosh.
So up until 1985, they went to about 150.
Oh
So
my
then they went to $200. I think it's $350 for a family now. But we just played round and round and round, and my dad, I don't even remember giving me a lesson. He just said, here, because I played baseball, did a lot of sports, but I was the one of the 6 boys that liked golf the most. So I just would go out there all summer long and, play 45 holes a day.
I'm trying to think of all you guys growing up playing golf, because I tend to think, I know Hale and I know Steve, you guys played other sports. Did you play other sports, Craig? Other than golf, did you play football or basketball?
Yeah, I played football a couple years in high school and baseball when I was growing up.
Hollis, did you play other sports?
I played tennis and I swam, and but I came from a large family, so
There were 10 of you.
there were 10 of us.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so we had our teams, and but I did a lot. My one swimming fame, I was in a swim meet, and I remember getting tangled up in the ropes. And that was the end of my career there.
You could have been great. You could have been great. So I spent a little bit of this week looking at videos of the broadcast of some of your highest moments. And what I really came away with is how difficult it is to close the deal to win a tournament. You're obviously playing well enough to be in position to win, and then you go about having to play those last few holes and how hard it can be. Except for 1996, Steve Jones, you looked like you, on 18, playing with Tom Lehman, were very relaxed, smiling. Everyone else seems like they're squeezing the hell out of the grip. And you seemed like you were pretty comfortable where you were and what was going on.
Well, what happened was I bogeyed 17. So when you bogey 17 and now you're tied with 2 other guys, what's the worst going to happen? You finish second, probably. So I never had a problem in a playoff or when I was in that situation. And I'd hit 5 drivers a day that week, hit driver every time and hit it perfect. So this was number 6. There was nothing different. I grabbed driver. Tom was wrestling with his caddy, 3-wood driver. Anyway, when it's your time, it's your time. I didn't have very many times, but Hale had like over 100 times. So it's, some people get more times than others, but when it's your time to win, it doesn't matter what happens, you're going to win.
Hale, I was looking at the 1974 broadcast, and it was interesting to me because, to give you an idea of what it was like in 1974, there was a young guy on the broadcast they were referring to as Tommy Watson, who was playing with you, and Arnold Palmer was out ahead of you, and Wingfoot was exacting its toll on everyone. You seemed like it really didn't get to you as much as you'd think the pressure might.
Well, interestingly, I think we had played in Philadelphia the week before,
Yep.
and I'd had a good tournament there, but once we got to Wingfoot, and after the first round or two, did you play there, Craig? Were you there? It was hard. I mean, it was just hard. The rough was deep, the greens were hard. It was just
Hard.
and weather was not an issue. It was just the most difficult U.S. Open venue that I've ever played where weather wasn't
Wet.
It wasn't wet. It was just hard. But the atmosphere in the locker room was doom and gloom. And I told myself, going into Wednesday, I said, all you have to do is beat 30% of the field, because 70% of them checked out. They're gone. I mean, they're not here.
Yeah.
And I also think that my football background really helped me in kind of the tenacity to stay with it. Instead of getting killed, you kind of get to the next play. And that was part of Wingfoot. You had to really kind of knuckle down and know that par was going to be like a birdie. And you were going to make bogeys. It was going to happen. Birdies were a very rare commodity. And to know that most of the field were not accustomed to that kind of difficulty, I think was, I won't uplifting, but it was a confidence that, hey, I've kind of been here before. Not that it's going to be easy by any means, not at all. But you speak to Tom Watson, and Tom was entering the greatness of his career, but he hit too many wild drives. And Craig could tell you, if you hit it in the rough, it was at least a bogey, most of the time. And Arnold, he was over the hump. He was an old guy. So it really simply was take what you can get out there, but just don't make the double bogeys because you can't make up that stroke. It's a lost stroke. You can't ever make it up. And it was just a grind. It was the whole week was very, very difficult. It was never easy. They didn't have signage up everywhere to know whether you're in the lead or not. I made a nice putt at 17 for a par.
Yeah.
I'm walking to the 18th green thinking, I don't know if I'm in the lead. The worst case scenario is I think I'm tied. Best case, I think I'm one up.
You didn't check your phone?
Yeah.
They didn't allow those ringing, hey, operator. And the marshal told me you have a 2-shot lead. The Forrest Fessler had bogeyed 18, but I said, don't believe him. Don't believe him. And the important part was to hit the ball in the fairway on 18, which I did. And then I saw the big board, and I did have a 2-shot lead, but that didn't make the second shot any easier.
No.
It was just a very difficult hole. And, of course, winning your first major, anybody here can tell you, is extremely exhilarating. But that was just like, oh, my gosh, it's finally over. It was just nice to get that week over.
Hollis, I want to ask you about winning a second one because you won back-to-back. And watching the second one, it's you and Joanne Carner going down,
The 72nd.
playing the last hole, and you had a 1-shot lead, and it looked like it was,
Horrible.
yeah, it wasn't the greatest golf hole I ever saw played.
No, I remember I was very nervous on the 72nd hole, like we all were, right? And I remember, well, my dad used to always say, pull down, pull down. Well, I pulled down and I hit 6 inches behind it. And I remember Bob Rosberg, oh, she didn't even make the fairway. And I didn't. And so I had a pretty good lie, and I just said, just swing as hard as you can. Usually it was like a 3-iron, 9-iron to the hole, the last hole. And I had to hit a full 5-wood, and I hit it just left of the green, and I got it up and down, made a 5-footer. And then Joanne, she laughed when I hit my shot. No, she didn't laugh. She teed it up. Then she hit her drive dead right, and then she laughed. But she made a par. So, it was very thrilling, but everybody says, oh, you look so calm on the last hole, and your hands are like this. And you're nervous, and I think when people say, I'm fine, I think they're lying. So, I don't know, but it's, if you're not nervous, you're dead.
Yeah, it's
You're dead.
Well, Craig, talk about '82 because I was watching that broadcast of the Masters, and that was a tournament you had won, and you almost didn't.
A lot of people thought that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was slippery.
The weather was horrible a few days. I went out and shot 40 the front 9 on Thursday. Shots ended up with 75. I played really well on Friday. I don't know what I did, but shot 67, but I played well. And Saturday we came around to like 13, 14 there, like 5 or 6 of us kind of right in the mix within a couple shots. And I was playing pretty well, wasn't making many putts. And we got to 16, and the pin was on the front right, and I hit it down the hill in the middle of the green on the left, which is a 3-putt.
Yeah.
I made it from about 50 feet.
Nice.
17, the pin was back left. I hit it up on about where Jack hit it when he won in '86. About 45 feet, made it. And
No
18,
way.
18, the pin
No
was in
way.
the front middle, and I hit it on the middle top left.
No way. No
an
way.
easy
So,
game.
so I missed everything all day. In the last 3 holes, I made 160 feet with the putts. And all of a sudden, I had a 3-shot lead.
Sunday's going to be fun.
So all of a sudden, I'm going to Saturday, a 3-shot lead. And after Saturday, Bob Rosberg
Yeah.
did the press thing and came out, and Rosberg's there, and he's got the microphone. He says, so, Craig, great finish. What are you going to do tonight to prepare for tomorrow? I said, I'm going home and barbecuing for my family and friends that are at the house. Okay, what are you going to do in the morning to prepare? I said, well, I'm going to get up and make breakfast. I don't tee off till like 3 or 2:45. So Sue and I are going to go out in the backyard, plant Easter eggs, and we're going to have an Easter egg hunt. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. And he said, what exactly are you going to do tonight or tomorrow to prepare? I said, I just told you, Bob. And he just looked at me, he just walked away. Like, okay. So anyway, long story short, Saturday, I don't remember what I did on the front nine at all. Shot 33, parred 10. I walked off 10 with a 5-shot lead. Parred 11. Hit a really good shot on 12, but the wind died, so I buried it in the back bunker. And now, 12, you're in that back bunker, you're buried. Pin's front left, so any shot you hit at the pin's going in the water. Hit a pretty good shot, about 20 feet, made bogey. 13, I parred. 14, I drove in the fairway, hit it 15 feet or 20 feet, 3-putted. 15, I drove in the fairway, hit a good shot in the right bunker, 5 feet from the hole, 360 that one. 16, I hit the right bunker with a pin on the top right. Not that I remember this, but
Every night before you go to bed.
Yeah. Pins on the top right shelf where they don't put it anymore on Sunday. I probably would have been wonderful to put it in the back left, the hole in one place where they put it now, but hit in the right bunker was a huge mistake. And I had a 2-shot lead now. Hit a great bunker shot. It just carried the bunker by about an inch, went down, just trickling down to the hole, and it caught the edge and spun it. So it went down the hill 40 feet. If it wouldn't hit the hole, I'd been like that. Anyway, 2-putted that, which is a good 2-putt. Almost holed it on 17, second shot, out of a divot like that long. As I said, not that I remember this. It spun back off the green. I chipped it like that, made par. Then I hit a really good drive on 18 with a 1-shot lead now. And 5-iron on the back tier, about 35 feet, left it 5 feet short. And then just 3 smelted that one around the hole and just like, my God, what have you done? And with down pole, it finished like an hour before me. I shot 40 on the back 9. Probably one of the best ball striking 40s I've ever had. Because I didn't strike the ball that well most of my career, but that day I did. And I hit it worse on the front 9 shot, 33. Way better on the back 9 shot, 40. But we went the first hole to play off it, and he returned the favor. He 3-putted, and I rolled mine up about like this and just kind of, fortunately, did not Scott Hoke it. I did jiggle it in. But anyway, and I made mine, then he had about a 6-foot putt to win. And he just kind of tried to take the break out of the hole and hit a little firm and missed it just on the left side. And if you remember you guys remember, but back in early 80s, the scoreboard was left of the green about 30 yards, mid-green high. His ball went off the green all the way down under the scoreboard. So that's how fast the greens were in 81. It was the first year they went back to in 82. First year they went back to bent grass, and they were spiked up like crazy. So really nobody made any putts. It's mainly the reason 4 under par won the golf tournament. But, opening and closing 40s for bookends.
Pretty good in the middle.
Somehow it ended up the way it did. So.
Wow.
I did leak some serious oil coming in, though, I will tell you. The car barely made it to the gas station.
So you look at the game that was being played then in the 70s and 80s and the like, and you look at the game now, and obviously it's changed dramatically. For me, especially, I was watching a lot of the shots that you guys were hitting, and I noticed your drivers were this big. And the balls, I don't know if they were all round. They most were roundish, right? I mean, they were pretty good balls, but not like they make them now. Now they're so pure. And you're the one who was telling me that the advent of the fitness trailer changed your game quite a bit. When they started bringing that around a lot, you started spending a lot more time avoiding the fitness trailer.
I was going to say, you're talking to me? So I got kind of barked at by Beeman and one of our officials one day. We were playing somewhere, and he came into the trailer, and these guys were working out, and I was just sitting there having a beer yakking with everybody. He didn't appreciate that for some reason. He didn't look highly upon that. I don't know why, but
the athletes that play now, Hale, they are different. And also the focus. We talked about you being a multi-sport athlete. Everyone seems to specialize now, and the athletes who play golf are much more athletic than maybe the athletes were in the heart of your era, if you will?
Well, I would say that's fair. I don't know, had we had back in them thar days the opportunities to do what these young people do today, both the men and the women, I think the more athletes might have emerged. The equipment, I think, has really changed the dynamics of how the game is played.
The golf equipment.
Golf equipment, yes.
Yeah.
The ball, the clubs. It is a 75-yard, 7,500-yard golf course now. That to us might be relatively long. To these kids, it's chip and putt.
And the swing.
And yeah, and they've become.
Inverted K, remember the
They
inverted
now have a
K?
team of experts. What they're expert in, I'm not real sure, but they have experts that help them with their golf game and tell them how high to tee it, where to aim, what time to eat, what time to wake up. I mean, it's I'm blown away by the lack of individual input by the player itself. It almost seems like it's the team, and they talk about the team. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's so different.
Is that because of money? Just because there's so much more money at stake that you can have a team?
Well, it sounds odd, but it's never money that drove me.
Sure.
It was the accomplishment. It was the
That's
task.
because you
of-
made so much of it. It didn't really.
Well, it didn't take much if you're from Human to be.
$100, your family's a member.
So I
Everybody's in.
think it's just a whole different recipe of what defines success then. Like I played the game, hit the ball as low as I can, but as high as I had to. Now it's hit the ball as high as you can and then hit it higher. You don't swing under control, swing hard. Just swing as hard as you can, and we'll worry about finding it later. So it's a whole different approach on how to play the game now. So I'm probably too far removed from today's game and how it's played and how it's taught to really really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, now all we think about is how bad we have to go pee.
The super seniors, yes.
Is it that obvious on my face?
Hollis, you mentioned
I
the
included
swing.
me in there just so you wouldn't feel so bad.
Hollis, you mentioned the swing. Is the swing changed because the swing has changed, or is it also because of the equipment, the ball, the clubs, that have changed the way you need to attack or get the most out of it?
I think the swing has changed. I was talking, to Maggie Giesenhagen last night. We were talking about, we were taught tempo, 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 tempo. And now the women on the tour, they're hitting it far, and they're doing this, and then they're releasing, and they're swinging they're creating as much clubhead speed as possible with a driver. And they're probably 50, 60 yards further than what we were, but their irons are about, maybe one club more. But I think the swing is a little different. It's a little more rounder, and then they're attacking it. Don't you think? I mean, Hale, you were always, a little up here, a little shorter, and you won at Wingfoot because you drove the ball so straight. And you did not hit it in the bad regions. You won your opens.
Well, I think it's an attitude.
Yeah.
And you
But
have
you
the
drove it well.
the young people. I'm talking the young people now, the kids that are 10 and 12 years old that are learning to play the game. They're being taught to really swing hard to create that club head speed. And to create
Right.
club head speed requires a little different thought process on how to
You gotta
make the
get
swing
someone up here.
faster, how to get the club head moving through the hitting area faster. So it's a little different. And again, it's a chicken and the egg. Is it the equipment? Is it the athlete? How is it working? And I think it's a combination. When we were playing, the ball curved a lot, and you couldn't take those big, hard swings as if you hit it a little off line, as Steve did. It would really go offline. And Craig's book in 40s, I'm sure he didn't hit it right down the middle on every fairway.
Did they have porta potties back in your days?
And we just use the trees. But the fact is, I think
That's the only time you went into the
would you be
trees is
quiet a
when
minute?
you had to pee.
So it's just a whole different thought process on how to go about playing the game now. And for us, the ball and the equipment said, you had those little persimmon-headed drivers and
the balata ball.
the balata ball. It spun a lot.
Yeah,
So now today, everything's made to go higher. You know, today's 7-iron was probably yesterday's 5 or 6 iron.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hit a 7-iron, but yeah, so did I. But how come your 7-iron goes so much farther?
Well, that's almost like a punchline now on the broadcast when they go, well, he's 215 out, and I'm going, don't tell me 8-iron. And then they go, hey, he's got an 8-iron. Yeah. And you're like, okay, you know,
It's deflating.
Yeah.
But it's also just the nature of the beast. These young people and the men and the women both really go at it. There's no holdback. And if they're going to if they have to feather a shot, well, they just drop down another club and
Rip it. Yeah. You and Craig, I know, have done some course design. I'm not so sure about Mark or Hollis, but Craig, do you like what it's done? Because you look at some of the classic courses that are being squeezed that they run out of room. You know, some of the great courses that you probably grew up admiring and loving.
Yeah, a lot of them are obsolete now.
Yeah.
Marion's the only one that's kind of holding its own, I think, as far as, you know, being 7,100 yards or 72 maybe, whatever it is. But, you know, it was funny. I was watching to make the point that you just offered, I was watching the Hawaiian Open probably 4 years ago now. And they were talking, Dustin Johnson was playing in the telecast, and whoever's doing the colors, talking about his stats from the week before at the Plantation in the Tournament Champions. And it has 5 par 5s, par 73, 13 par 4s. His average second shot to the par 4s for the week was 92 yards. This is a 7,400-yard golf course.
Yeah.
And he can obviously hit every par 5 and 2. So that's kind of where the game has evolved into, and they do hit it so far. But what was the question?
You were going there. You were going there. Steve, can they take it back at all? They can't. They're having a hard time if they want to try to shut down the way balls or clubs are made now. I mean, people want to keep going, right? Don't they want more yards, more yards, more yards? Can they stop them?
Did you say me?
You, Steve? Yeah, you're the expert.
I was thinking about something else. Yeah, I mean, it's just a combination of everything. It's just different. It's like every other sport or business. Things change, evolve. So, yeah, you either change the golf ball or you make the courses longer or tighter. I don't think they're tight enough. And that 300 to 380 spot needs to be a lot tighter. So make them think a little bit.
You think they would? It just,
No.
the way Hale talked, they're still going to pound it down there.
They won't.
There's so many ways to go about thinking about this thing that if the courses are made tighter, which I agree with, how are we going to play it? How's the bulk of the golf community going to play those holes? I'm sorry you guys don't see all the benefits out of the game that these guys were talking about, and the young men and women. If you create club head speed 105, 110 and up, you're going to see those benefits. If you don't get that, you're not going to see anything. It's just a fact. And I think for those of us that don't have that club head speed, and then I include myself, we are at an extreme disadvantage because we don't get that extra. We get maybe extra 2 or 3 yards. We think that's 20. No, it's 2 or 3 yards. But if you have that club head speed, and the women have it as well, I'm not discounting there, they kill it. You're going to get that extra 20 to 50. And that's enormous. And when you get to designing golf courses, how do you design for the elite in the game at the top of the talent level and make it fair for the rest of us? That's a conundrum. I don't know if we can.
2 different games.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and we see it all the time now, especially the younger and younger players with the amateur this year here at Cherry Hills, and you see these scores being posted, and then you look down, and he's 15. where he's 16 and you're going, okay, you know, you're going out there and shooting the low round and you're 16 and it's like, okay, enjoy the game, I'll go play my game. Hey, I want to ask you guys about the rules. Like, have you guys ever had any important rules violations that people might remember?
No. You're looking at me?
Well, hello.
Better throw in the towel on that one, Craig.
Yeah, we'll just, next.
So it was.
Yeah, it's amazing that that was actually
I just thought I'd ask real quick.
36 years ago.
1987.
Remember it like it was yesterday?
So Craig is going about winning out in his hometown, right? And what happened? You were going to go win your hometown tournament, right?
Yeah, I was right there. I ended up again making it from like 50 feet on 18 to finish second alone. I can't even remember who won, but 14. If you've ever played Torrey Pines, they have all these juniper 150 trees forever on both golf courses. And 14, they had a big one to the right, and I drove it underneath it. And the branches is usually cut about this high off the ground, and it's sitting right there, and it's a big old mud hole. But you know, you couldn't get in there with a stance because you couldn't get your ball, so you couldn't raise any water. So you know, it's either take a penalty here and come back, and if you go back in line of sight, I'd have to go back like 60 yards to have a shot because there's eucalyptus trees here, and this 150 tree was like 40 feet high. It was huge, so I just said, you know what, I'm going to just get it down on my knees and knock it out there about 8 feet, and I can go on. There were 100, 200 people standing around, and I accomplished that. I had white pants on, and it was all mud, so I just took my towel, laid it down, put my knees in the towel, and just whoop, knocked it there. Finished the day, finished the hole, made a great putt on 18, and I can't remember his name, but from San Diego, one of our officials, a good friend of mine, walking off the green. He was, anyway. Used to be. But come walking off the green, he's standing on the green, and he says, Craig, I said, yeah. He says, go down to the tent and go over your card, but don't sign it. This is on Saturday I did this, not Sunday. And I'm like, all right. So I'm walking about here to the front door, down to the tent, thinking, yeah, where did I screw up today? I mean, I hit this fairway, I hit this green, this fairway, this green, whatever, all 18 holes, like nothing happened. So I got down there, and long story short, they want to penalize me for building stands. And we
because of a phone call, right? It was
Pardon?
a viewer called in, wasn't it? Was it a viewer?
A viewer called in, one from Minnesota and one from actually Rancho Santa Fe, my hometown. That like, I don't think that was right. He's building the stands with that towel, which is about that thick. So we went into the rules thing, and we got PJ Boatwright on the telephone. He was home, and they called him, and he answered. And they're accusing me of building a stand. So I'm sitting there, and I got the little rule book, a little thing they put in your bag, and I go to like page 14 and definition of a stance, and it's right there, and I'm reading it. And I'm thinking, definition of a stance. Definition of a stance is placing one's 2 feet firmly on the ground. So I asked, I think Mark Russell's in there with us. So I said, Mark, we were on speakerphone. I said, PJ, can you get a rule book? Would you? Yeah. Can you go to page 12 and read me rule 1.25x pi squared 4? Because the rule book's about this big. And he says, absolutely, placing your definition of a stance. He says, definition of stance is placing one's 2 feet firmly on the ground. I said, how could I be building a stance when I actually didn't take a stance because my feet weren't on the ground? They were in the air. I thought I had a hell of a deal. I mean, I was right and he was wrong. And he came right back. He said, well, in this case, Craig, your knees take the place of your feet. I said, where the hell does it say that in the rule book? So anyway, long story short, got disqualified, and that was like 37,000. I missed the Nabisco at the end of the year by like 4,000, but anyway, not that it cost me any money, 170,000 or something. But
Well, I wanted to ask Hollis about money, because obviously the money's grown exponentially. But when Hollis won her first Open in 1977, she got a check for $11,700 for winning the U.S. Open. This year at the British Women's Open, the AIG, Haruka Karamako finished last. She finished 73rd. She too got $11,700.
She sent me a thank you note.
She got a Stacy, they call it. It's a $11,700 check. Does the money amaze you, wow you, surprise you? What people make now to play? And
I'm happy for them. I think they should make more money.
really,
But yeah, I'm happy for them. I think the LPGA needs to change their business model. So, and they'll be more successful.
how so?
Because they don't own their tour. They're different franchises. The PGA, they own their tour. So, so they need to own their own brand. They really don't own the tour. It's different franchises. So, and who knows what's going to happen, with, this mess brewing right now.
With the PGA Tour, when you
Yeah.
say they own their tour, that's certainly a quagmire at
Yeah,
the moment.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, as far as what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I was two things I wanted to ask you about, Steve. One was I was trying to remember why, when a Colorado guy, I'm working in sports at the time, wins the U.S. Open, that it was blurry to me. And what I realized was you won the U.S. Open 5 days after the Avalanche won their first Stanley Cup down in Miami. And Stadler and I were in Miami at Game 4 when they won that. So it took a few days to come out of that haze. But when you won that you had been through so much at that point. You had really, it's been 5 years at that point since you'd had the hand injury that really cost you a lot of time. Was that moment that lifted you in some ways as far as how you felt about the game? Because obviously you had to work hard to get there, to get back to the summit.
Yeah, it was a wild ride, and I hurt myself in '91, motorcycle wreck, and then I didn't play again until '95, and finished like 75th or something on the tour. And kind of worked my way back, changed my grip for 8 years, went reverse overlap, Varden-Jones grip, that's what I called it. Instead of that way, it's this way. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, worked hard, and
You got to slow down. Hale's catching up.
Reversal.
yeah, that was it, yeah, that was it. Used that for 8 years, won 4 times, and then went back the other way, and then never won again.
But one of those wins,
should.
you won in Phoenix by 11 shots.
Well, Hale wasn't there.
Well, everybody else was there, and they couldn't touch you. That you almost broke Mike Suchak's old record.
Yeah, we were on 13, which is about 800 yards away from 16. And this guy named Tiger Woods, his first real year on tour, made a hole in one. And I heard this roar, and I told the score guy, I said, Tiger just made a hole in one. I said, you hear that? That's a Tiger roar. And the guy looked it up, and he said, yeah, you're right. How'd you know that? Anyway, you could hear it when he did something great. But no, that was fun. Monday afterwards, I went and got my hair cut, and I was at the mall because I had to go to Pebble Beach the next week. And I said, I better get my hair cut. So I went in there, and I got to listen to this hairdresser talk about the Phoenix Open. I was at the Phoenix Open every night. I was at the Phoenix Open every night.
Well,
She was, okay.
It's
There's
a
big
daytime
parties
event,
there,
but
okay.
the night.
Anyway, so that didn't go over very well, did it? But anyway, so she cuts my hair, and I said, yeah, I was at the Phoenix Open too. She goes, oh, really? Who did you watch? I said, oh, the group ahead of me. I said, do you know who won the tournament? She goes, no, but I saw Tiger make a hole in one.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, oh, wow, that's great. And I had been there probably for 10 years, going there, but she didn't know who I was. So I didn't say anything, but walked out, and I always think of golf is funny because you're only a day away from being humbled.
Yeah.
Or a tournament away from being humbled. I don't know how people get egos if they're a golfer. Seriously. How can you have an ego? I don't care how many tournaments you win. You're going to miss a cut. You're going to screw up, right? Right, Hale? You're going to screw
Why
up.
are you looking at me? You can be humbled on the next shot.
There you go.
Hale, your third was such a memorable one when you won at Medina. It seemed to almost come from nowhere. Not to you, I'm sure, but to those of us. And watching again, as I was watching the broadcast, when you made the long putt on 18, the leaders were just making the turn, and it wasn't sure what was going to happen there, but you were having the time of your life. And maybe did you know when you made that putt you had a chance to either win or be playing on Monday?
Well, the thought does come to you. You have to give yourself that credit, but it really kind of started. I was about an hour ahead of the leaders, and Billy Ray Brown had come to me as I'm going to the first tee, and he was one of the co-leaders, and he kind of said, what's some advice? What should I do today? I said, well, you're playing well. Just don't go beat yourself. Play the shots you feel comfortable, but just don't beat yourself. So I'm walking up to the tee, and I think, that's pretty good advice. Why don't you try that? So we get around, and I was paired with Greg Norman, and Greg birdied number 10. I think, he makes a couple more, he might have a chance. And we walked to the 11th tee, and it's kind of a lesson I learned. I walked to the 11th tee, and I'm one shot out of the top 15, which gets you in the next year. And I had been invited by the USGA that year to play. I didn't have an exemption. Okay. So I just forget that, concentrate on what you're doing. I birdied 11. I said, okay, redefine your goal. Top 10, I birdied 12. Redefine your goal. Top 5, birdied 13. I thought, this is getting better. Birdied 14. So now I've gone from kind of down here to now I'm one shot back of the leaders at the time. Now they're an hour back there, so anything can happen. So par 15, 16, 17. That's why the big putt at 18 was a tie for the lead. But back in 1975, I'd also made a birdie putt at the 18th hole to tie for the lead. After the Wingfoot, and then we played at Medina again. So all this kind of running through, and I've just played the last 8 holes in the U.S. Open, 5 under par. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But I never thought it would win outright. I never did. I didn't want to extend that to myself. Don't be disappointed. Just be happy with what you just did.
Well, I was with one of your old buddies. I remember we were playing in some charity event. It was Monday at Columbine, and that Monday with Mike Donald was on TV, and Bobby Anderson was with us. And Bobby, I never saw a guy pull so hard for a guy to win a golf tournament as Bobby after we finished ours. It was great to see. Hollis, when I looked at yours, you hit one of those shots in your third championship at Salem. You're on the 13th hole, and you're playing uphill to a par 4, and you just, out of the rough, right rough, you just knock it in. And all of a sudden, you just catapulted yourself into the mix and on your way to a championship. It was one of those shots that obviously comes from preparation and practice, but it also seems to come from nowhere, too.
Interesting, that week, I played a Cobra Metalwood. So that's July of '84. So I thought, I am hitting this driver so well, not realizing that I'm taking all the spin off. So I'm swinging at it very hard, and I'm hitting it straight as I've ever done. And on that one hole, I hit it in the right rough, because there was a bunker left. And I hit it, and I said, well, you have nothing to lose. Just hit this stupid 7-iron and keep it low. And I hit it hard, and it was going over the green. And so it hit the flag, and it went in. Flush, yeah. But the problem, that whole week, I drove the ball so well with that Metalwood. I was the first to win a major with the Metalwood, that I was hitting greens in regulation close. And when you hit it close and you're in a major, you're like, oh, God, you got to make this. So I was really struggling with my putting. So when that shot went in the hole, I went, oh, phew, I don't have to putt. Thank God. So.
Shortcut. Talk about putting. I'd like to get each of you just your thoughts on putting, because it's such a quirky, strange, fun, horrible part of the game. Craig, you were just talking about, well, Augusta's a different animal when you're putting there, of course, but is putting all feel? Is putting science? How do you look at it when you're putting well?
I don't look at it as science or anything. I just look at it as in your head. This will be a short answer,
yeah.
By the way. Good. I don't blame you. But like 89 through 91, I really struggled from 10 feet in. And I'd look at it, and I'd look at it as it's a left center putt, and I got over the putt, and I actually couldn't decide if I wanted to miss it right or miss it left. So yeah, that's most of the time I did. And so, it's just all here. I mean, there wasn't any science about it. I just had it in my head that I wasn't going to make putts. And I didn't have pride from here or here. I didn't have the yips. But the ones that count, the 3 to 8 footers, I just was consistently not making. And in a playoff at the Tour Championship with Russ Cochran, I was put one shot back, going to playing 18. I drove it in the right rough, out short, about 7 feet short of the hole, and it was a left center putt, and lined up. I got over it, and I just said to myself, I said, just don't give him this thing on a silver platter, and just center cut it. And they're like, wow, how'd you do that? And second 2 holes later, I hit on 16 about 15 feet, and he missed the green and chipped it like this, and I center cut it. And that was probably the one turning point in my whole career, because the putt that I made at Pinehurst, actually, in my head, I you can do this again. And I end up winning 5 times in the next 10 years, and putted really well the rest of my career.
Yeah, it goes.
So it wasn't getting another putter, it wasn't getting a different grip, wasn't trying to cross hand or low hand, or I went to the claw before that or whenever, but it was just kind of mental.
Hollis, you think you were a great putter? It seemed like when you were winning, you were really rolling it.
I kept it. I didn't realize what a great putter I was, and I was. But I worked on just being square and trying to run it over a spot. This is when I made my most putts. I just tried to dumb it down, because, there's so many things that can go wrong in golf.
Yes.
How many things can go wrong? And I just tried to simplify it by being square and, my stance square. Not me square, but me as a person square. But, just try to run it. And when I thought of that, then it seemed to me that I was accelerating my putter toward the hole. I tried to, be rhythmic and not be like a statue and have the pigeons fly over me. So I just tried to be simple. And I was, I putted with that bullseye like Hale, right? You had a bullseye, so I just tried to simplify it.
A lot of tournaments won with those. Steve, what about that confidence, begetting confidence, and the lack of confidence can also crop into your putting game? But when you're going good, do you see everything? Do you feel everything? Does it just seem to flow?
Yeah, I think so. For me, putting was number one. If I hadn't been a good putter, I never would have made the tour. So I putted a lot as a kid. I putted a lot for practice on an hour, 2 hours a day a lot of times. Just putting. It's the only way to get better. And for me, I made a living out of putting, because when you hit 9 greens, you had to putt. I won the putting title, I think, in '89. But yeah, when something gets into your head, it's the craziest thing about putting. I just pick a spot usually, and I just try to hit it the spot, like dumb it down, I'll never forget this guy that towards the end, I think it was late, right around 2000, he said, wow, you hit, your putter head goes exactly where you want it to go. And I'm like, what, like a light switch went off the other way. And now I couldn't get it to go anywhere after that. It was for years.
Oh, no.
It's like, don't give me a compliment, He's like, oh, you're so good. You're so square, right on impact.
That guy's not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Now I'm like this, right? But anyway.
Hale, talk about clutch putting, because obviously you had so many huge putts, and when you see your Open Championships, there are putts you make all along the way from, for 72 holes. But is it different putting with the weight of an Open Championship kind of on you, as opposed to playing at the Greater Hartford Open or some, they're all great tournaments, you'll want to win them all, but.
Well, I think that anybody that's sitting in one of these chairs is a great putter. So let's just,
Thank you.
that's done.
Thank anyone sitting in any one of these chairs.
Just a great putter. So just to get that established. To me, I think when I was learning how to play on the tour, and looking at the great players, whomever they may have been, Nicholas is always the top, but Arnie, Gary, Tom, you name it, whoever it was. I would even look at Steve. Steve was a great putter. Whatever your method of putting, I tried to say, what is it that they're doing that I might be able to incorporate? And a lot of the time, it was just a commitment to excellence. To not feel like this is something I cannot do. Because the worst thing any of us do in the game is say you can't do it. The best thing you can do is say you can do it. And that breeds confidence. That breeds reading the putts better. It breeds hitting the ball more solidly and continuing that, putting your putter where it's supposed to go. But I think it's simplicity, and I don't think you have to dumb it down. You just have to find consistency with simplicity. And that's ball position, it's your tempo. Steve's tempo might be different than mine, or Hollis's or Craig's, because of the way we're built. Our minds are different. This may be Steve, he had a great tempo, that's what I like to watch. Others may have a little quicker one. Some had very slow. But then you have to find what is consistent for you. And the only way to do that is kind of go on the putting range, just putt short putts. Just find that consistency. Then back out a little bit farther. Find that consistency. And there are little tricks that I do all the time in practicing. I'll change my putting grip. I'll change the style. I'll change the ball position. But every time I work it back to where I started, because that's my position.
Would you change equipment? Did you change putters much?
Oh, I might mess around with one, yeah. Yeah, it's just simply because it's boring to do it the same way all the time. But it adds, I think, consistency back. It adds confidence that, hey, I'm going in the direction that's positive. If I go back to my favorite putter every time, whether it be a bullseye or mallet or whatever it may be, and the grip, I go back to that. I played with a guy in Scotland one time, a Swede, and his grip was parallel hands. He didn't have one overlapping the other. And he won the tournament. And I'm thinking, how the hell did he do that? I've never seen that grip, especially and playing as well as he did. That now has become one of my practice sessions with my hands, because it encourages the shoulders to rock. It takes my hands out because I can't overpower. So when I do that, I get consistency. Now I kind of creep back into my grip and get that consistency again. So just little things, experiment. You'll always come back to what makes you a great putter.
See you later, MJ. He's got to go pee.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to the Hall of Fame restroom we have set up.
40 guys just getting up right now.
I do want to wrap it up and thank all of you. It's always good to see you come back to Colorado, or when you're here. You're great representatives of our state, of our golf community, and obviously just fabulous golfers and people. So Hale and Steve and Hollis and Craig, thanks so much for sharing some stories with us tonight and coming back to the Broadmoor.
Thank you.
Just real quick, thanks to all of you who
you.
helped make this all possible. You're the best.
Thank you, Dave Platty. You're the best.
And well done, Tom, by the way.
Thank you, Craig. Hey, I want to let you know, though, we do have the class of 2024 inductees. Joe Ossel, who I saw here tonight, Wyndham Clark is going to go in this year. Pat Hamill's going in, Gene Torres, George Solich, and Jennifer Cupcho. So it's going to be a fabulous induction ceremony. We hope to see you for that as well this year. We really appreciate all of you coming out tonight and enjoying the Broadmoor and enjoying our chat. And please, if you're a member of one of these families, make sure you come and get your medallion. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.